going, all you guys and girls in the Illumination? Time to jump aboard the Loon Train. It's me, it's JJD, JJ Double J, the Illuminator here, the sweet one. Also known by almost countless other aliases and nicknames. We won't get into that right now. You know, a lot of times, I guess it depends, okay? Sometimes people will tell you things because they just need to vent, and they're not looking for someone to solve their problems. Other times people are looking for advice, and they get advice from the different avenues that they go through. Um, but whether you're just looking to vent, you should say something first, because even if you say something, you're probably going to get people that are going to tell you, well, you should do this, or maybe you should do that. You're probably going to get advice anyway. And that comes twofold, because sometimes the advice is going to come whether you want it or not. Other times people really do care, and they will give you their opinion because they care enough about you to give you a second opinion, third opinion, whatever, because it might be something you haven't thought about. And that's great, okay? It really is. At the time, it might not seem great, but it's great that people care enough to give you their advice, because if they didn't care, they wouldn't, because they wouldn't care. But sometimes, even if you're looking for advice, whether you're looking for it or not, if people give advice, it still really is your decision whether or not to take it. Um, and that's both good or bad. But some people, because you might not have taken their decision, some people come across as being like standoffish, or all high and mighty, and they'll be like, well, if you would have done what I had said to do, like, number one, you're probably not my parents. Granted, you might have experience in a certain thing, but ultimately, anytime you give advice, you can't really get mad if someone doesn't take it, unless they're really harming themselves or whatever. Of course, there's limitations, and there's exceptions to every rule, but I know this is like really heavy. There's a lot of stuff I'm talking about. If you try to diagram it all out, it seems like it's a lot of stuff, and it is. But the thing is, if someone doesn't take your advice, you can't get mad and hold it against them, or keep saying, I keep telling you this is what you need to do, because it's probably going to have the opposite effect. A lot of times it's just human nature. If someone keeps telling you to do something, a lot of times you're going to do the exact opposite, just out of spite or pride or whatever. A lot of times it's just the way we are. We just have this attitude that says, yeah, I'll show them. Unfortunately, it's a terrible attitude to have. I admit that, and I wish a lot of other people would admit that. But basically, in summing up, if you give advice, it's up to the person to take it or not take it, but that's up to them, and you can't hold it against them. Especially if you're just work friends or acquaintances, or, if you really don't have any stock in the matter and someone's asking your advice, they could be just trying to, just look at all of their avenues in front of them, and then just because they pick something else, sometimes, like, for instance, stupid little things. Like, when I had bought my SUV, there was a guy at work that really liked the way it looked, but it's more than that. He said, how does it run? Is it treating you well? Blah, 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 blah. I gave him my honest opinion. He went to the same car lot, and he ended up buying a Ford. I didn't get mad. I joked around with him. I said, hey, wow, you bought an Expedition. Wow, that's really, really great. I thought you were looking for something more like mine. He said I was, but guess what? Unfortunately, I got talked into something I really didn't want, and it's okay. I mean, I'm okay with it. But unfortunately, that happens sometimes. But, in that instance, he planned on taking my advice, but then got talked into something else. Some people are that way. That's the way it is, and you can't chastise them for it. So honestly, you have the right to give advice. People have the right not to take it. Anyway, that's your learning today from your Uncle Loom, your Uncle JJ. That's your advice from Uncle JJ. Anyway, say la Versky. I'm off to the races. I love you all. Stay safe. Be good to yourselves. This is the Illuminator, and I'll be back. Hey, Rock, here's a napkin to go with your porridge.
That's all good and everything like that, but I never use them.